Hey, what's going on, guys? I just want to go over this Grizzly controller wiring here. What I did was I printed another box, but I wasn't really happy with how it fit on, so I'm figuring out if I like this style. I kind of printed something here. I added a waterproof switch for the stock brake light and controller cutoff to be on or off. And I printed this top, which basically hooks into this little area here that will make it stay on without my previous Velcro straps. So that's what I'm going to do. It also has mounting spots for the two boards, the relays, the dual relay, and the 52 volt to 12 volt down converter. So it's nice. I'm going to put it and mount it here. Let's see how it goes when it's done in a second. Alright, I took the old box out. Now that I got the old box out, you can kind of see how the controller's wired up. I'll show you the bottom here, how I bridged some connections, because both the relays are going to trigger with the same wire anyway. So instead of splitting two wires, I just connected under the board together to supply some of the power. Here's the fuse, the new button. Let me go ahead and screw everything in. Alright guys, I guess while I'm working on this update, I'll just show you guys how I added the turn signals and to kind of explain it. So, regular, just like any other turn signal and brake setup, I ran I think a 5 conductor wire, and that leads over to this control box. Same with the front to control the head horns and the turn signals. And then to control everything, there's also this switch which runs back to control box. So most of the voltage run to the switch, and then whenever you do a turn signal, it's sending voltage over those two lines to the front turn signals and the back turn signals, for example, or the daytime running lamps on the front or the back tail light. Whenever they are activated, it's basically sending the voltage through the switch up here. What I also did was I bought a standard 2-wire brake connector, and I basically cut it in half, and I'm hijacking the brake signal from both of the brakes, and I ran those wires basically back into the box too. One set of the end of the wires are going to go back to the controller that tell the controller basically whenever you squeeze the lever, it connects those two wires and it tells the controller the brake is on. So what you want to do here is, that's the point of this whole relay, is it's powered by 12 volts here with this down converter straight from my battery. With I intercepted the battery after the blender with the Dean XT60 Dean's clip, I think, or whatever it's called, XT60 connector. And here, whenever you press the brakes, it's going to trigger both of these relays. If this button is off, it won't trigger and close the circuit to the brake controller, so then you can have throttle while you're braking. But always whenever you brake, it's going to close this relay, which is the brake light, and that basically is just going to send the 12 volts over the brake line. The thing about this setup here is the controller brake, so you hijack the signal, and then anytime you squeeze the lever to the brake, it's going to close out the circuit for the controller. So you're basically separating the controller from the brakes now using this relay. So whenever you squeeze the brake, it triggers the relay and both of these go off. If you press this button again, this one doesn't go on, the controller brake. So it doesn't send the signal back to the controller until the brake is on. Hopefully that explains everything there. The rest is standard wiring through 12 volt, lines. So now I'm going to install this. So if anyone wants to, I guess, try to install this and do this setup, I will probably put this piece in my Etsy shop, and you guys can purchase this box so you can mount it up here, run all your wires into this, and have everything boxed away. You don't necessarily have to have this button here if you want the controller always to just go tell the throttle shut off when you brake, but sometimes I like having the throttle still active when you're braking, and that's the reason why I added that button but I wanted to be able to turn it on and off. So hopefully that explains that. I guess if you guys have any questions, you can post it in the comments below. But I'll show you some finished pictures when this is all wired up, so stay tuned. Alright, here I have the relay screwed in and the button also installed. Only use 2 screws here, 2 M3 screws. And now I'm going to go ahead and fix this drop-down converter, DC to DC drop-down converter, buck converter, whatever you want to call it. But this one, there's no dial on it. This one's a 5 amp model, so I think these hella horns draw like 3 amps when they're both on. So that with the headlight, that with the turn signals and the brakes, I wanted to make sure everything was capable. So I got this one, and it was roughly the same size as the relay. So I figured this one's going to fit in the box. So let's go ahead and finish assembling this. It's been working great for a year, but now I'm cleaning up the box, so I know it's pretty reliable. So here we go. Alright, so I screwed this in, but in realizing I added this extra hole here, that this controller, I only have 1 screw in it, but it's not really going to matter. But I'll revise my design and make sure that the hole lines up to mount this in with 2 screws, and that uses an M4 screw. They're not super tight, but it's just there so it doesn't rattle around when you're riding. Alright, let me finish closing this up. The top does have a little recess here, and a little small recess for the wires up top. Alright, here it is all assembled with all the 6 screws holding the top on with that hook. So I'm going to try to hook it up in here now. Give me a second. Alright guys, so here it is all done. I think it looks pretty clean here. Kind of looks like it follows the contours of the bike. Doesn't stick out too much from each angle. It kind of disappears. Before it kind of, since it was all squared off, it kind of noticed it. But now it kind of just looks all part of the bike, which is the whole goal. Alright, well, hope you guys found this useful.